Hi everyone, Michal is here. Welcome to the eCom Power Summit. Our next session is with Sebastian Herz, how to source product worldwide. This is amazing topic and I'm super excited. Hi Sebastian.
Hey Michal, thank you again for having me on here. I'm super excited as well. What a lovely event.
Yes, thank you, thank you. So I'm gonna let you take the stage and you can, tell a little bit about yourself and start your presentation. And I'm gonna be right here in the background.
Sure, thank you so much. Again, if you have any questions also in between, Michal, let me know. Very happy to answer the questions. For anybody out there to know, my name is Sebastian Herz. I'm one of the co-founders of Signify Global Product Sourcing, together with my better half. Some of you may know Julia as well from some of the events. And the target for us today is, of course, not to talk too much about us, but instead to show how can we source products not only in China, but also worldwide, and to give a few more hints along the way to say, how can you save money? What do you need to watch out for? What is the target when dealing with suppliers? And how do you make sure that you get good quality for the needed price, and at the same time make sure that you have hopefully the best offer available on the market. Whether you do this on your own or you are working together with sourcing companies, there are a few things you can watch out for, or you should watch out for, in order to get the better benefits from it. Now, what we have planned, for example, I want to start with a few use cases in there. And now, for example, you yourself, just imagine, I assume a lot of you are selling in the US, and you may have a product that is priced at like $6 a piece, sourcing it from China. And due to that, thank you, Donald Trump, we have 27% import tax, anti-dumping tariffs. By the way, here's maybe one of the first pre hacks. I've noticed that a lot of sellers actually do not know how high the import tariffs are. Do me a favor and look into your products when you're shipping them in. How high is the import tariffs? Those are anti-dumping tariffs that are being placed on goods from China. Starting from 2018, Donald Trump and the government started to implement a anti-dumping tariff of at least 25% on a market back then already worth $250 billion, products coming from China. So quite likely you will have a lot of Trump tariffs on your products, which maybe can be avoided. Now let's have a look at this one here. You have a product, $6 a piece, you buy it from China and have 27% import tax. Now, what if somebody could do this? Lucky shot, 3 hours. That is not really going to happen again. But imagine in 3 hours, you find a supplier in Vietnam who actually also does that $1 cheaper. So sourcing outside of China does not always need to be more expensive. In most cases, it is, but it may as well be cheaper. Now, if I'm telling you that you're also selling 500,000 units a year, this adds up to $3 million order volume. And when you have $1 cheaper, well, you're saving $500,000, $500,000 a year on your product. And when you look at the 27% of the import tariffs, and you may get the same product from a different country but China, you may have literally 0% import tax, and 27%, I hope I did the calculation correct, on $3 million is $810,000 that would be left on the US border just to get the products into the country. Now, in total, of course, this adds up to $1.31 million in 3 hours of work. That's a nice hourly wage of $436,000 something dollars. Who cares about the $667 per hour, right? Imagine that is possible, and believe me, it is possible. That's a real case study. A lucky shot that everything happened only in 3 hours, but just think of the potential of, if you're selling that much, what could that mean? Now, in another one, I don't make it as secretive. I'll just show you directly. What if you find a new supplier and you have the chance of getting 12% cheaper production with a new supplier? And the customer did this on a $500,000 order. I have to say, he had balls. I mean, literally spending $500,000 with a new supplier in a different country. Originally it was China. We're not even looking here into the import tariffs, because simply, to be honest, we didn't look at what the import tariffs were before. But 12% savings on a $500,000 order, that's $60,000. That's $5,000 in a month you have available for a lot more things you could do. For example, put money, of course, in real good Walmart analysis, in real good Walmart consulting, in fantastic images, in listing, in SEO, and all of that. And imagine just the sales blowing up from those additional $5,000 one could have, or even if it's 1,000. Now let's see another one. Let's say a cosmetics producer making good revenue, $24 million annually. But if it's possible, for example, within the first 8 months to save $1.4 million on the 24 million revenue, just imagine even the percentage saved on the revenue. Now imagine the percentage saved on the purchasing cost. All of that is true. All of that is possible. And those are just 3 case studies. It doesn't matter whether it's us or anybody else, or you achieve this on your own. But please, what I want to implement here is the thought in your heads to say, take your best sellers, look at them, and ask yourself the question, could I resource them? Could I save more money? And or can I get rid of those anti-Chinese or those Chinese anti-dumping tariffs? Could I get rid of the Trump tariffs? And what does that mean? Now, for example, I think the record we had was 47 or 48%. Imagine that you're buying products for $100,000 in China, and you're bringing them over to the US, and you're leaving $47,000 or $48,000 at the border just to get them in. Imagine what you could do with this money. Obviously, you could buy 47, 48% more products. And when you would just save even 12% on $100,000 in annual orders, what does it mean? That's $12,000. That's $1,000 you have more in a month, either to take your family on at least a small vacation or a lot of good dinners every month, or you spend the money on more advertising, growing your sales, getting new products out there, invested into big box retail, into TV shopping, into all of those things, or anything that would be related to the growth of sales, revenue, and profit. Imagine what could be possible if one starts thinking about sourcing, optimizing the cost for your big bestseller products. Just to leave a quick review of who we are, Signify Global Product Sourcing. We started about 2 years ago publicly for other Amazon sellers to start to source products. It's by now we're more than 60 women, full-time employees working with us worldwide. I'm the only guy in there. My wife, she came from Flixbus. I came from ABB. But more important, I think, is we're sellers ourselves since 2014. We have 2 own brands. We are, of course, besides the sourcing business, we are active every day ourselves as mostly Amazon sellers, not Walmart yet, because over here in Europe and Germany, there is not that much of Walmart. And I haven't made the step with the second brand, at least, to get into the US market. But we're selling them online, and we're also selling them in Germany in a bit more than 1,000 big box retail stores. So we are also in the offline business. We have another Amazon event company with some partner companies that is called Scale for Etail, and we're pumping out a lot of events worldwide in person for mostly Amazon and e-commerce sellers, and of course helping others also to bring their products into big box. If you want to connect, get your phone out. Feel free to scan the QR code. I don't know if you see me right now, but obviously the more attractive, the better looking side, the also better speaker side is Julia on the left side and myself on the right side. Feel free, but leave also the phone out if you want to. Later we'll have our giveaway, our contest, as well as the scanning for anybody who upgraded to the bonus program or who upgraded here in the eCom Power Summit can as well get access to a 30-minute free of charge consulting around your situation. But about this a little bit later. Bit of the experience, what we've done, more than 3,000 products so far sourced. We've saved more than $500 million now for our customers. And most important, I think, is that sourcing, we still do a lot in China, of course. We still have a huge team in China. But by now, it's about 60% of the projects that are outside of China. And when I tell about some of our customers, I think the most famous one is Amazon itself. So we do the sourcing for Amazon's own brands. Also, Amazon, everybody knows Amazon Basics, for example. And where we can see, that also they're sourcing outside of China. I will not tell you right now where and which countries. But to be honest, you can see there's a big area where many of the companies may go, and you may see this later as well in the presentation. We can help with finding manufacturers, product quality, manufacturing control, but let me skip over this. This is not the most important thing. Anybody who wants to read can do that later. What I want to say, the same here, I'm not going to go through every point, but just to give you a few examples, what are the ins and outs of sourcing inside of China and outside of China? I guess over the last 2 years, everybody has learned and has seen, what can happen when something like Corona hits, what can happen when an economical war between the US and China may happen, if a war between Russia and Ukraine can happen, if the Suez Canal can happen. I mean, there's many, many different things that would, for China, we've seen the factories have been shut down for a long time. They take serious lockdowns, of course, in China. It's not controllable, not really predictable what would happen again, when they would open, how fast factories have been shut down again. And just to see also, I think the record on a single container price that we have seen were $28,000 on a single container, which is insane. I mean, there's so many things that literally can just happen, even though still to say, of course, sourcing in China is not the worst thing. Specifically for some of the products, you may have cheaper production. You may have a low MOQ, which you may have in other places though as well. And as we know, you can get the very, 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 very best product and the very, very best quality from China if you're, of course, implementing to have good prices, or you're willing to pay the prices, as well as implementing good quality control. But yet outside of China, if we're looking at this specifically for US sellers, I mean, the biggest thing I've mentioned in the beginning, the Trump tariffs. Imagine you have only 25% of the import tariffs. Imagine what that would mean on your annual orders. What could you do with the money if you have those 25% or even higher import tariffs? And please, 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 everybody who orders not only $10,000, I mean, even this could be worth it. If it's 30% import taxes, that's $3,000 you could have somewhere. Or especially if you go higher and you order more, go in and look and find out from your imports, from your global shipping, how much cost are you leaving at the border? Now, at the same time, here comes the point of when you source from outside of China, your shipping ways will not only be cheaper, but also time-wise shorter. Means your production, on the other hand, doesn't take as long. Now, going even a step further would as well be, you don't need to bind as much money into production as you may order smaller amounts, but more frequently. So it means, imagine you're sourcing from Mexico, and Mexico is one of the big upcoming countries, and we're doing a lot of sourcing for our clients in Mexico, as well as it could as easy be as Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia. It may also be South American countries or inside the US or Canada as well. Imagine how quick you can order. The production hopefully is fast, but imagine you just load it on a truck and it's there in a day or two. Instead of, in the worst cases, that maybe there were like 13 or 14 weeks of seat time on the container, in the containers on the vessels. Now, there are ins and outs for everything, but let's just have a look at what is possible and how can you source products and what kind of products could you actually source outside of China. In order to make it as quick as possible, here's a bit of an overview, and I can tell you pretty much anything can be sourced. Besides, there are a few things that will most likely always stay in China. Michal, short question. Can people see me right now or not?
Yes, of course. We can see
Yeah,
you
so
and
there's
your
a picture.
screen. Yes.
I better right, be there in front of the camera now and focus what I show into the camera. Now the question here would be, what else can you source or cannot source in China? And what I usually show is, like heavy electronics, say the phone. Electronics, of course, this will quite often still be China. This will still be Taiwan. And, or to be honest, more and more is coming up into Mexico. There are also Chinese companies now investing into building electronics companies in Mexico. I think the biggest one we have there is $400 million over the last year of investing $400 million to build electronics inside of Mexico. Now, what does that mean? I mean, it means it's a product that doesn't come from China anymore, even though it's a Chinese company owning it, but the product originally comes from Mexico. And so is the same happening as well, a lot with, of course, metals, plastics, textile, and anything else you can imagine also as natural resources, such as wood or whatever based product you may have on. that they're coming from different countries, still having the same product, but from a different country, having a very different or zero import tariffs. Now, talking about China, when we talk about the heavy electronics equipments as well, you may see this is one of my products here. That's a small camera slider to make sure that your selfie camera is either on or off, or you really have it under control. This one here right now is out of metal, but for example, also out of plastic. If we're thinking about those small, tiny products that come out in thousands or 10,000s per hour out of machines in China, and now think about, would buyers on Amazon or Walmart or anywhere else, would they really care if that thing was made in US? To be honest, most likely not. And for the heavy electronics, we also do know, it is going to stay for a while in China, Taiwan, etc. Now, going a step further, I've took a screenshot right now from a German magazine, which pretty much reflects as well the industries or the Amazon categories, selling by, how many millions are being done per month in Germany on this market. How many sellers are there? What is the average revenue per seller in Germany for those products? And I guess you can see loads of them: electronics and pictures. This is lighting, personal hygiene and pharmacy stuff, office supply, computer, baby, fashion, DIY, hardware tools, electronic large devices, animal products, kitchen, household, living, beauty. I guess some of them, they're very similar in the language, but you can see which ones would we suggest you can actually also get outside of China. And again, besides electronics and, small piece plastics where there's not that much emotion connected, or also other small, Me Too products, they don't necessarily need to come from other countries. But if you look at what is possible, there's quite a lot possible. And this is why so many people go to the topic of nearshoring. Nearshoring, getting the production closer to where you do the sales. Reasons: political instabilities. I mean, we see what's happening in the world right now, and I'm about to cry. It's really sad stories that are going on, not only economically, but of course also in terms of literal war. Trump's and other taxes, long shipping costs, and the things that we mentioned before. Plus, of course, a longer financial turnaround if you invest into outside of the country. You may even get inside the country, or if you're lucky, for example, even in Germany, inside the European Union, you may have way easier delayed payment terms that you could actually, sometimes when you're a little bit lucky, even when you're working with big box retail, getting a positive cash flow, meaning you're earning money from the customers on Amazon or from big box retail before you have to pay your supplier. I mean, imagine that world of business. That would be just so fantastic, and is reality for some of the people. Now, looking at this, we had look. I hope the contrast on the presentation is strong enough, but you would see that there's like a standing tower or a learning kids tower that the kiddies can use in the kitchen next to mommy and daddy, learn a little bit cooking and standing there. And that's a product that was selling for $139. We've just done a little bit of research, where originally in China, the product cost would have been $37 for Europe. Then we looked into Turkey, $41, Poland, 43 euros, which is, plus minus, not too far away from the US dollar. Mexico, 47. And if you look at Bulgaria, even 30 euros. Let's say this is $32, $33. It is even cheaper than in China. And now imagine, of course, the shipping. Imagine the shorter ways, the cheaper shipping if you're selling, for example, in Europe, or if we look specifically into the US market, if we look deeper into Mexico or South American countries, it may still be even cheaper. And or maybe the difference doesn't make from the shipping, the $10 difference could be summed up that the shipping from Mexico is cheaper. But now imagine free trade agreements with Mexico for lots of the products. Imagine all of those high prices. Imagine all the anti-dumping tariffs that you do not have to pay, that you have, and you can say, I mean, we literally have customers in the US, you're obliged to put like made in which country on there. We have customers who proudly put into their product, not made in China. So you put on, made in Mexico or made in the Americas, or, of course, not made in China as well on top of it. Another small hint, let me just throw this one in here, that some of the US sellers may still not know. Every customer understands when it says on the product box, made in China, everybody knows, oh my God, China, China, bad products, bad China. What if you, I wish I could right now answer and ask you guys for feedback. Like, what is the official naming, the official, what's the English word? I'm looking for it right now. Well, the official name of China. It's the People's Republic of China. So many of you here still sourcing from China, did you ever think of putting onto your box made in PRC? That is the official abbreviation of China. You can just put this on there. And I guess a lot of people, a lot of customers would say, oh my God, what is PRC? I don't know, but I don't care. You know, it's not from China, so it's good. In the end, you have made in PRC printed on your products, and that may be a way out as well as a short term until everybody's going to do it. Now, where can you find suppliers? I was wishing this would pop up one after one after one after one. But of course, I mean, you do know Alibaba. And why am I still listing this one here if it's for China? Well, because there are also more and more suppliers on Alibaba that come from other countries. India, of course, one of the strong ones as well. Vietnamese, of course, are also on Alibaba. So you may find even some suppliers on Alibaba from other countries. You want to search some from Germany, you may find our company there as well. Not the sourcing company, but one of the product companies. You can filter there as well by countries. Still, when sourcing in China, I'd still suggest also 1688, which actually in Chinese is Yao Liu Ba Ba. And I think you can see somewhat the relation to Alibaba. That is the literal local Chinese version of Alibaba, for internal sourcing inside the country. So everything in Chinese, but pretty much the starting and the sourcing point or origination point of Alibaba. Yao Liu Baba, Alibaba. Yao is 1, Liu is 6, Ba is 8. At the same time now, there is by the way, yes, we did live for quite a while in China, in Asia. I was 6 years in Asia. My wife was 12 years there. And that, of course, gets us also a personal connection to China. And yes, we do love to be there as well, and also even going on a sourcing trip in the end of this month into China, going to see the Canton Fair. Now, the global sources webpage or Euro pages may be perfect ones as well to find products from Euro pages. And when it's from Germany, you can look at WLW, wer liefert was, means like who delivers what. And you can find, German factories in there, even though it's okay. But to be honest, me as a supplier, not so much interesting. Why? For the simple reason is, you hardly show up on there unless you pay a lot of advertising. That is their strategy, how they want to, get money out of the producers. AliExpress, of course. I mean, also from there you can find factories. But the next point, or I think especially the next point, is an interesting one. The social media pages, the social media channels. Why? Well, because also those producers worldwide understood, hey, those people, they're looking around in social media. We need to have a presence there. They may not be super active, but plastics producers, somebody in the company is young and crazy enough to run around with a camera and film the extrusion machines and just say, hey, I started a social media channel. So of course they also want to be presented there or represented there and be able to be found through you if you're looking up some of the pages and get in touch with them. Else, Google, not a question, search for it. Small hint, if you're searching specifically in Bulgaria, go into google.bg, or Germany, google.de, in order to find, in local language, please, then hopefully, the German or the Bulgarian or Romanian or Mexican or whatever else results in local language, which will then be adopted to the market. Of course, it helps if you speak the language or you have somebody who can do that. Baidu is a Chinese version of Google. I mean, Google, Facebook, etc. It's not so well allowed in China. That's why if you want to look in China specifically further, use also the Chinese version. Again, here it helps, especially if you do speak and read and write Chinese or have somebody else doing that for you. Vitamin C is another one, connections. So of course, asking people around. And here's another small hint for you. If you want to do the sourcing yourselves and you find, I like to give the example of, a plastic manufacturer, say, for example, the ones here with the small camera covers. you may be in contact with them, but to be honest, you're looking for, let's go on the other extreme, car bumpers. Most likely, they will not be able to produce it. Why? Because they have machines that produce those products, but they don't have the machinery in the machinery park that produce those kind of products, right? The size is a very different, or requirements for very different machinery. What you could though do with the ones that you have already, or the ones that you know already, or the ones where you know they're producing any types of plastic products, where you go there and it's like, look, I do understand you can't produce those things, but you guys are so much deeper in the industry than me. You probably know who else you would go to in order to produce that. I mean, do me the favor, don't try to sell it to me, because I would understand it doesn't come from you. But could you do me a favor? Who would you go to? Who would you talk to if you want to produce bumpers? Who is the name in the industry to say they are the ones with the big machine parks or with the big machinery that can produce maybe bumpers? And if they don't have it, well, then you go to the next one and start calling again. So calling, talking to the people, not only emailing, calling in all the local languages that you can, will help you, of course, also to find out the manufacturers that can produce that for you. And you probably know, like, a good example is the Facebook graph. A couple of years ago, I think the Facebook graph was at like 5.7 or so, which means that between you and anybody else in the world, so actually between you and me there, or between you and Michal, well, you know each other directly, but there would be like 5.7 people or 5.7 connections needed to be done in order to know anybody in the world. Now, with all the social media and everything, with all the interconnection, and I think it is right now below 3 or somewhere around 3. So in order to get in touch with anybody, whether it's a producer or a friend or whoever, there would be like 3 connections in between that could help you get there. So imagine how quick you can actually buy vitamin C, buy connections, find the way of the right producer or to the right producer. I have the feeling I'm going to sneeze in a second. Maybe Michal, you can rescue me here.
Yes.
I'll struggle through. Okay, I put in a few things. Of course, I need to watch out for the time, so I'm going to run through some of them. But in the end, you will still be able to, go slowly through this again, and we can look for, because right now I have 2 slides with 6 hints each, and after that, it's going to be another slide with 11 hacks. So we're going to get up into 23 hacks. Some of them are double. But let's have a look, and I'm trying to run through them to give you an example of what you could and should watch out for when you're dealing with suppliers. What do you need to watch out for? What should you ask for them? It's like one of them, for example, is big question. If you're going out and you're finding a product, should you get 2 or 3 proposals? Or is it better to go maybe for 30 to 60 potential producers and get as many proposals as reasonable? If you're lucky, if it's nice, 10, 12, 15, 20 proposals. Can you see the difference? If you have 2 or 3 proposals, compared to a lot of proposals, where do you think you have a higher negotiation power? I think I don't need to answer that.
Yeah, I think is more is better.
That's what she said. Sorry for that, and that goes out to a few people here in the industry. I think they know the running gag. But yes, also in this case, the more you have, the more you can negotiate. I guess that's a lot better. Is it a manufacturer or is it a trading company? So finding out when not only talking with them, but check their businesses. Traders, trading companies, they will, of course, increase the prices. Now, usually you say, hey, why should I pay you 20, 30, 60% more? For doing what? For moving boxes? For taking a big order, not wanting to make any changes on the product because it's too much hassle for you to deal with the suppliers and make the change and do the quality control? You're taking big boxes, putting them in the smaller ones, shipping them out. We always try, unless it's really wanted for import reasons, etc., get rid of trading companies. Look for the real manufacturers and check out if they're really manufacturers or just trading companies. Now, background checks, is it business? Is it actually a registered business? Does it have the export license? What's the financial situations? What are the reviews about the companies? How long are they in the market? What's the size of the company? How many employees do they have? And can you, for example, see, what about the management? Are they running in some other companies as well? Maybe one of them is right now being sued in front of court. Hint, hint, alarm bells should ring. Do background checks, of course, about the suppliers and see whether they're a legit business or not. Now, if they have a web page and the web page is bad, is that equal to a bad company? I used to make the joke or the comparison. By now I'm being a bit more proud of, now Signify.net doesn't look too bad anymore, even though I still see a lot of potential what we can improve. But we used to have, to be honest, a shitty web page, really a shitty web page. But I think from here, the people that understood to say is like, no, a shitty web page from a company that's maybe even from the 90s that never updated their web page and they're still in the market, that is a really good sign. Why? Because they don't need a web page to sell themselves. They are growing by referrals. And well, that's what we've done in the beginning as well. Now we understand the online marketing hype or the online marketing importance of growing further. But a company that exists for a long time that has a bad web page and still on the market, that is not a bad sign. Do not kill that web page and not contact them because they have a sorry if I'm swearing here, but if they have a bad web page, it may be a really, really, really good sign. Now, how flexible are they in the communication? Are they willing to do adjustments on the products? Are they easy to reach? Can you talk to them? How are they accepting your request for changes? Are they open for OEM? Are they open for ODM? Means if you bring your own designs, can they make their own prototypes and everything? And how willing are they to react on this? Hint, hint. This may also be a small thing where people say, oh, changes are difficult. My first question is, are you a trading company or the producer? If you're a producer, you're used to changes. Now, at the same time, what they show on their webpage and what they can produce, remember, the webpage may be from the 90s. Maybe they don't even work with those products anymore. Maybe they produce something different. So maybe they don't have any webpage or they have completely different products. They may have a product catalog in the shape of an Excel file or a PDF, but they don't reflect it on their webpage. So whatever you find on the first go online, you need to check. You need to see, is it actually still the reality? Or can they produce the products? Now, next one, do they have the licenses and certificates? Now, if you want to sell the products in the US or in Europe, all of you should and certainly do know, you may need to have a REACH certificate. You may need to have CE self-compliance certifications. You may need to have FDA approvals and so on. Do they know and which ones they need to have? Can they offer the licenses already and the certificates? And are they still valid? Have they been photoshopped? Are they real at all? Are they still valid or have they expired and so on and so on? And that is, of course, one of the important things to check for the products as well. Or also, if you find producers, lots of them that could produce a product, but nobody has the certificate yet, that's not necessarily a bad sign. You can get them still. If you find tons of producers, go negotiate the price. And then in the end, you'll find out, all right, this looks like the most likely to have a good quality. All right, we need to understand, we need to get another certificate in. And with this, that can be applied for. Work with accredited testing labs together that could get those certificates. It's not a dead end if they don't have the certificate. Maybe the product is new and nobody's yet prepared. You may be number one. Make sure that certificate is on your name. When you're working with a sourcing agent or a sourcing company like us, for example, will you get all the contacts from all of the suppliers? Ask that question. Or will they be hidden and do they get a percentage of the order volume and maybe another percentage of the reorder? If that is the case, ask yourself again, should you do that? Does it make sense? Do you want to know who the real supplier is in case something goes bad with the sourcing company? How many offers are they getting for you? Is it 2 or 3 or is it 10, 12, 15, 20? Are they taking bribes? Are they taking kickbacks? Are they being paid by the suppliers? I guess you can, without me hopefully pitching now too much, but you can see all the things that we do different in the sourcing process. But again, question this. Or also if you're working together with a single agent, ask those background things. You want to understand, where does the money go? The money should go from you directly to the supplier, and nobody in between, in my opinion, should take a percentage. Do it open, do it honest. And I'm not telling you how we're charging. I want to keep up the secrets a little bit. But, understand the flow of money and who gets how much. And is that really worth it? Now, what about the offers versus the reality? don't have it on me right now, but I'm producing small size wallets in my first brand, so-called slim wallets. I'm not afraid of telling this because that market is old, that market has burned, the prices are down. Even though one of my competitors in Germany, he's doing a really good job. I mean, he's selling a lot of it, but to be honest, it's a tough market in any way. Now, what we've seen, one of the customers, before he came to us, he told me he's had a very expensive lesson. Now, the thing was, he wanted to have a specific pouch, something kind of like a small slim wallet like we have, but not exactly the same, like a little pouch. Now, he's got proposals, he's got samples, he looked at the samples, 3 of them he got, he picked number 2, and he's like, oh, cool, all right, yep, I like that quality, all right, let's go in production. Production went through, everything happened, boom, 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 products packed, products shipped over into Germany. Getting stuff into Germany with our bureaucracy, with our insanity of regulations, that's a headache already as it is. Hint, hint, it's not going to go well. Now, the products, they're arriving in his warehouse, containers there. He opens the container, opens the box, grabs inside, looks at it, and is like, shit, that does not look like my sample. So the question was, what happened? Well, he didn't do a quality control in the mass production, where it's like, dude, you spend so much money, you should don't save those $200, $300, $400 to do a quality control, because that is what may happen. So he's got a product that looked different from the samples. And then we explored a little bit, and we found the most reasonable explanation to us is that the supplier who sent him the 3 samples, well, guess what they did? They ordered samples from other companies and pretended that those would be their own samples. And then they tried to produce them, or didn't give a care, and just produce something that somewhat looked like it, but not at all. So here's the question: have they really produced a product before? Have they done that indeed? Can they show proof? Can you show me? Can you make some sample checks? Can you make golden samples, etc.? Can you prove me? Show me the factory on video. Also a small hint. To find out whether it's a trading company or not, ask them, hey, are you in the office right now, or are you in the factory? Oh, I'm in the factory. Okay, so you could check with a master sewer, master stitcher to say if the sample is possible. Yeah, I can. All right, do me a favor. Turn on your camera right now. I want to see the production. Please show me right now the production line. Show me the packing line. Show me the raw materials. What do you have in stock? And then all of a sudden you say, no, I'm actually in the office. Well, it's a good sign for a trading company. And with the products, I hope I showed you how you could compare. Have they done it already before or not? Where are the products really produced? Check that. There's tons of those advertising giveaway companies, especially here in Germany. They show big fat on their webpage, made in Germany. BS, it's not made in Germany, because many of them, they're working together with Chinese factories, because for that cheap, like advertising companies would do that. They can't produce it for that. Ship it, import it, produce it in Germany with such, high labor costs and everything, especially if it's about cheap products. So even whatever they state on a webpage doesn't necessarily need to be true. They've just not been sued for this thing yet until they take it down. I would like to ask the question right now, and I want to see raising hands. Who of you is married? I can't see your hands. Okay. But I'm just assuming that quite a few people of you are married already, or you would understand that you're not going to marry a stranger. Like, if you meet somebody at a trade show, it's not like that the next day you're going to be married to that person. The same thing you should watch out for with suppliers. Now, I can tell from my own experience, also with our second brand, and that's a good thing to happen, that the producer of our cosmetics brand here in Germany, actually, we're producing the second brand completely made in Germany, that we got in trouble. We had different opinions. I said, no, hold on. You said you're going to store all the products. You're going to ship them in. You do be my pre-FBA storage again, until he understood what that actually means. And he then later said, no, this is not what we discussed, blah, 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 blah. Fights. Different opinions. And this is where you really find out, can you marry that person? Now, anyone of you who is married probably knows that you've been in a relationship with your husband or wife for a long time already before you got married. You've seen, of course, how the private moments are. You see how the good days are. You see how the bad days are, and you see how fights are. And then you will learn, all right, is that person able, am I able to go with that person through a fight and find a solution? Believe me, this is the same thing that you will do with producers as well. So if you have the feeling that right from the beginning, if something goes wrong, you will not be able to go through a fight with this, do not put a ring on that guy's finger or that producer's finger. MOQ and payment terms, of course. Do you always need to pay 100% in advance or not? Or is it possible to make 20% upfront, 30% after production, final quality control, and 50% after receiving? Or one day even 10% in advance payment and 90% 60 days after delivery? All of those things you can negotiate and then get yourself a much better cash flow. Whew, how are we in time, Michal? She's asleep already. Are you still here in the show, Michal? I think you just put yourself on mute, huh?
I am on mute. Sorry. So yeah, we have a couple more minutes, so you can go ahead.
I'll rush through. Originally it was 10 slides, 10 hacks here. Here's another 11. Some of them will repeat. Now remember, should you contact 3 or 30 suppliers? How many proposals should you get? Hack number 1. Hack number 2, if you have existing suppliers or you have worked with sourcing companies, sourcing agencies, if they're only contacting their only existing database, does that guarantee you the best prices? Or should you actually start looking for every single product into additionally new suppliers? Hint, hint. We usually take like 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 of them that we contacted before, but the other 30 to 60, we always search for new suppliers. Why? Because, if you give the orders always to the same suppliers, they get spoiled and they raise their prices. And what are you going to do about it? Think about existing database only, or will you actually go for additional producers and find them? Are you getting the data and the contacts of your suppliers so you can take over at any time you want? If you're working with a sourcing agent or a sourcing company, ask that question. Because if you're not going to be married or you want to get divorced of your sourcing company, what are you going to do? How are you going to get access to your supplier? And big question. That's actually, I think, number 5. No, number 6. Number 6 it is, the percentage of the order volume. Really, is that what is needed? Would that be in your interest? If I have point number 6, the percentage of the order volume, would I have the interest as a sourcing company to find you the cheapest supplier? Of course not. Why? Well, I prefer that the order volume is a little bit higher because my percentage would be higher. And would I have the interest of really getting in there and finding, not only 2 or 3, or actually literally a lot of them to get the best prices possible? Now, let me jump back to number 4. Remember the $446,000 or so per hour as an hourly wage? 3 hours of work. Lucky shot, again, will never happen again. But it took 3 hours of work to find a new supplier in Vietnam with 0% import tax and $1 cheaper. 3 hours. And we had another project. Not all of them are going super, super well, of course. And especially if the customer is telling us, like, you know what, this one is going to be a tricky one. And I want you to push through until we find one because I have the right access to all the sellers and everything. It was seeds. Very specific seeds. I'm not going to go into the detail. What kind of seeds? Something, the seeds that you plant where stuff grows. It took us more than 500 suppliers that we have been searching and contacting until later on, of course, we found the way and found the idea and found a person who was willing, because nobody has that thing in stock, to grow the plant, harvest it, dry it, grow it again, harvest it again, and everything, that they would deliver 5.5 kilograms after 1.5 years. No, sorry, what was it? I think somewhere around there, 5.5 kilograms in like 1.5 or 2 years or so, that they then can deliver that many seeds. Now think, 3 hours and more than 500 suppliers contacting and discussing. Is that possible in a fixed rate per product? I find this quite very unlikely. And if you say, oh, it will cost you so much to have a product, think about this again. Does it make sense to get a fixed rate? Now, what if bribes? How can you make sure that a sourcing company or an agent does not get a kickback, does not get a percentage of them, or does not get a percentage where the supplier will then say, hey, you know what? I'll give you 10%, just make sure that order comes to me. One simple question, how you can make sure of that. Imagine you're working with a sourcing company and they give you all of the suppliers, all of them and all of the prices. And they find 30 to 60 potential ones. And then a supplier comes and says, here's $10,000 for you. Make sure I get this order. We're telling the suppliers like, no, we can't. And we don't want to. Why? Because we're showing all of the prices from them. So do me the favor, take those $10,000 and make those prices cheaper for the producers, so not for the producers, for the sellers, for your customers, the Walmart sellers, and make that product cheaper. Because then we'll come in 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 of them. We will take and we'll recommend to the sellers, and they can decide who's going to be the one that wins the production. So don't bribe me. Take that money and put it into a cheaper production or cheaper prices in general. So find out if bribes are being taken. Does the payment, we mentioned this earlier, go to the supplier, or does it go to an in-between middleman who maybe gets 10% from you and 10% from the supplier, makes 20% of the revenue? Think, where does the payment go? Do you have a direct, clean way? Can you see that? Quality control. The guy with the pouches, he lost $100,000. $100,000 of production it was, that was just like, ready for the fire. Could not sell it. It was just trash. So he had a 6-digit learning. By the way, with some of my products or some of our big retail boxes, those 6-digit learnings, they're really good to know for the future. If you have a quality control, do them not only for the samples, but do them for the mass production as well, okay? Mass production, quality control necessary, especially if it's a bigger order or one of the first orders. Or also in the future, when you have a supplier, you work with them for a long time, surprise them. Show them that you're aware. Show them that you're not fully blindly trusting them. Every now and then comes like, oh, you know what, we might make a quality control. Or we'd like to come by and visit you in the factory. And all of a sudden, it's like, holy cow, they're still active. Okay, they still watch out, so we can't, slack off in quality. When you are, I'm sorry, there's a spelling mistake. It's not outside, it's outside of China. I'll correct this in the next presentation. You will not get, one question and immediate an answer. You may need to be more persistent. We usually say you may need 3 emails and 4 calls until you get really a proposal from them. Not everybody is as quick as the Chinese and as service-oriented in sales, because they understood how sales work. Give them quality and service so that the customer will come and buy from you. They answer all the time. The quality of the answer is a different question, but outside of China, especially Germany or Europe, they're quite spoiled. You got to go and convince them that, because in this moment you're not buying from them, you're selling them the idea of, hey, let's work together. I want to get a proposal from you. Hey, I really want to get a proposal. Hey there, hey, yes, please send me a proposal. And you got to remind them several times, be prepared. It will take time, but it's possible. Don't go in the shotgun style. If you're aiming to get 30 to 60 potential producers, do not, just find any plastics producer who can make, small size or any size and just shoot out and, get all the requests out for a proposal. Because imagine they're all coming back and you have to weave through all of them just to learn and spend hours and days. I was like, oh my God, they all cannot do it. So aim a little bit better. Look specific for those companies who do the small or the large size plastics production, and then go contact them and ask for a proposal. And one of my favorite ones is the undercover hack. The ones who have seen just me, I've been posting a little bit on Facebook and LinkedIn and on my WhatsApp statuses over the last days of not only the undercover hack, but renegotiations. So over the last 3 days, the first day we got a new order and we got in 11% cheaper production for the full product. Second day we went into another product and we got, I think, 2.5% on the product. And now we got another 11% for same MOQ just on the packaging. If I increase the production a little bit, 14.9 or 14.3 or 14.9% on the packaging. So massive amount of savings just by asking and working with the same suppliers again of reducing the prices. So all in all, it was close to 14% or 14.5% of savings over those products. Now the undercover hack is aiming at the same supplier. especially when you're working with them for a longer time. Now imagine you have a producer that you're working with for 2 years already, or 3, or 1.5, it doesn't matter, or only 1 year. You go into the company, send your buddy, send from another email, send from a sourcing company, whatsoever, and ask them about prices. What is the current prices for, new customers? If you're as lucky as me later on, one of my wallets in the beginning, I think was like 4.6, then 4.4. In the end, it was like $3.9 after the years. And I went in with the undercover hack, going to pretend to be a new customer. And instead of 3.9, I think they offered $2.6 per unit to new customers. And I was like, hold on. Somebody came with my product, asked you for a proposal, and you make it like whatever, like 60% of the price that I have? There's something wrong, my friend. Listen, if you offer this to new customers,
I think we lost you for a second. Let's see.
you also have different salespeople in the suppliers, on the supplier side. What are they offering to new customers? And believe me, you should, of course, insist on getting this price as well. All of this to give you one picture, what could happen, especially if you're starting out, that we have seen, which was a very nice thing to see. Even a small seller, he started out with 1 product, and after a short while, he went into 22 products launching in parallel. So you can see, we're saving money, with bringing products out, we're doing right quality control, and there's a lot more to do. Of course, getting the right pictures, the right listings, the right advertising, the right shipping, the quality, of course, of the fulfillment, and everything else. You can grow massively. And if we can help, and if we can hopefully help you as well, here comes the QR code now again. There comes our offer, where we say, for the ones who have the bonus one, we'll give a special code, then of course to Michal, to know that you have the bonus offer, is that you can get free of charge 30-minute sourcing about your current situation with us. We do this with you about your current sourcing situation, to look where your product's coming from. Is there potential to say, hey, let's look into your products. That's maybe, is that same product possible to get from Vietnam or Mexico or somewhere else? Or is there a possibility even within the same country to find cheaper products, or get rid of all those bad tariffs that nobody wants to have? In my personal opinion, I don't know if Trump actually started, a war against China, or if they actually started a war against the local sellers, because who is the one who's paying the import taxes? Yes, China may produce less, but you're the one who actually, but I don't want to start a rivalry, a revolution here or anything like this right now, but let's just think about that. Who's the one who's paying for it? And with this one, what we're also doing with the QR code, if you're signing up, besides the possibility of getting 30 minutes free of charge consultation around your sourcing, we'll make a lucky draw, and that one of you who will just spin the digital dice will get a free of charge initial research stage, the initial sourcing stage that we call inside our sourcing projects, means that 6 hours of sourcing in China for potential producers and 10 hours for sourcing a manufacturer from outside of China. You'll get this for free. This is the security stage of our full sourcing project, but this is what we want to offer here for the eCom Power Summit as a special. This one goes for everyone.
That's an amazing price, very high value. Thank you so much. So guys, you need to stay and be showing up here, and we will, in the end of the day, we will draw the winner. So stay and visit the Facebook group. If you're not, there's different places you guys can watch those sessions. So stay tuned, and we will be posting the winners in the end of every day. So Sebastian, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us to the summit, and hopefully we'll see you again in the next one, and have an amazing day.
Thank you so much
See you guys in the next session.